Welcome to Calvin, the Digital Creative School.
Hey y'all, what's up everyone? It's me. I'm a bit sick still. Yeah, sorry for pushing the class a little bit into the back. I had some health problems earlier today, so I need some more time. I needed some more time. Is my microphone peaking a little bit too much? I think so. This should be better, right? All right. So, yeah, I would say let's wait for a moment for everyone to gather here. And in the meantime, we could actually watch the Flow Oscar speech because I haven't checked it out myself yet. And yeah, I mean, if you haven't heard yet, this feature film animated movie Flow, which I watched last week in cinemas, it's a very beautiful movie, and it's been made completely in Blender, rendered with Eevee. So yeah, it won an Oscar. It won this year's Oscar for Best Animated Movie. So yeah, let's just check out the speech they gave
Hi,
afterwards. Yo, Keanu, what's up? Yeah, I'm doing better. It's every day is going better. I think I still need like 2 more days of recovery until I can start the daily live streams again. I mean, the next stream that I definitely want to do is on Friday, the interview with Aram. So that one's gonna definitely happen, but maybe not the other live streams like the Create Together and stuff. Those will probably then continue on next Monday. But yeah, thanks for asking. Let's check out this acceptance speech.
Hi, congratulations over here. It's Mark Williams from British Cinematographer. When you accepted the award, you thanked Blender early on. Can you talk about the toolkit you used and how you used it and how that helped make this film possible and maybe what it means for animation going forward?
Yeah, Blender is a free open source software, which means everyone can have access to it. So any kid now has tools that are used to make these now Academy winning films. So I think we're gonna see all kinds of exciting films being made from kids who might not have had a chance to do this before. And it's a great tool. It's not in any way a compromise. It's just as good as anything out there. And we're gonna use it also for my next film.
Next question, 320.
Hi, my name's Shine Mumfree. I'm with the Associated Press. My question for you tonight is when you're talking about storyboarding and talking about how you're going to put this animation together, there were no words, right? So tell me, what is the uniqueness of a story like this and being able to express the way that the story was told without using words?
I think you can express a lot more without words. There are some of these emotions and ideas that I couldn't articulate with words, but with music and sound and movement and editing, I think I can say a lot more. And those are my favorite kind of films and favorite scenes, which I think are very cinematic and can transcend cultural boundaries and work across the world and for different ages as well. And yeah, I think it's kind of a universal language that we can all understand. It's cinema is a language, and so we wanted to push it as far as we could.
Now moving on to question from reporter number 152.
Excuse me.
Microphone's behind you.
Hallo, Mara Rosenberg, Latvian Public Radio. Congratulations. Apsveicu jūs no visas sirds. My question goes both to Gint and Matīs. Just tell us how you feel at this very moment, what is going through your heads for having an Oscar for Latvia for the first time. And please, if you wouldn't mind saying that also in Latvian afterwards. Thank you.
Yeah, it will take some time to process. It's crazy thing that happened, and I couldn't have done this without all the help from everyone here, but also our teams in Latvia and France and Belgium, and I feel very lucky, and I feel inspired to make more films, and yeah, so I'm just I'm celebrating tonight, I guess. but yeah, latviski esmu ļoti priecīgs, un arī ļoti gribu būt mājās, ilgojos pēc Latvijas, un nevaru sagaidīt, ka varēšu taisīt nākošo filmu.
Great. Now our final question will be virtual. Please look into the camera. Script Magazine will be.
Ooh, he wasn't allowed to speak. So mean.
Hi, guys. My question is, so how will this win affect your next project? How will it inspire you?
I've been already working on the next project, and I'm just very excited to get back to work on it. I think this will make it easier, probably, and will also help this film to find an audience, which is very difficult. So yeah, I've been working on it like yesterday, so I'm probably gonna do it tomorrow as well. So
Congratulations.
I'm very excited about it.
Great. Thank you and congratulations.
Nice. It's so obvious to see that in the Oscars they're always so under time pressure. Like they asked the question to the other guy too, but he wasn't allowed to speak, which is always pretty sad to see. Keanu says here, I'm curious what kind of pipeline they used. From what I've seen, they pretty much used a very straightforward Blender pipeline. I don't think there was too much involved, but I also need to research more into that. And he said Blender isn't as easy to use collaboratively as Maya. I can't really comment on that since I haven't used Maya much at all. I think there's some pretty useful features in Blender that make collaboration work with the linking system, for example, where you're able to link separate files into your main file, so you can link anything. So basically, someone can work on a model, and that model is then linked into the main scene. And as soon as someone updates that original model, it's automatically updated in the main scene. So there's definitely some collaboration tools in there. Also, same with animation. You can also just animate your characters in a separate file and then just link that animation to a main scene file, and that just gets updated as soon as the animation file gets updated too. So yeah, I think that's the fundamentals for collaboration is definitely there, but I don't know how far it is compared to Maya specifically. Okay, I think we should just start this workshop here. Maybe it crashed, could be. All right, let's start this workshop. So, you might before we get into it, as I said, I'm still a bit sick, so I might be a bit slower today than usual. But nonetheless, let's get going. So, for anyone who doesn't know Blender yet, it is basically a all-in-one 3D animation tool, so you can do almost anything in this one program. There's a little bit of explanation here. It's got its own photorealistic render engine, Cycles. You can model, sculpt, and UV unwrap. Even though UV unwrapping is probably one of the weakest parts of Blender, you can still do it in there. Visual effects, you can actually do a bunch of visual effects in Blender directly with 3D tracking and compositing and stuff like that. Camera tracking, 2D tracking. Animation rigging is pretty solid. The 2D animation side of Blender is actually getting a lot of love recently. It's developing very quickly, and people can actually create full-on 2D animated movies with Blender now. And still in the 3D space, so you have all the features from a 3D program, additionally to the ability to draw in 2D and place those 2D drawings in 3D space. So it's pretty special. All right. I would say you can just download it here. If you click on download, just download the latest version. There's not really any reason to download old versions, except for if you have a very old PC and the newer versions don't work on your PC. Then you have to try out which older versions work for you, but usually it should work on almost anything. It's also available for Mac and Linux and Steam apparently. Oh yeah, through the Steam store. You can just download, install it. All that is pretty straightforward, pretty self-explanatory, I would say. Keanu has a professional question. Sure, Keanu, write it down. I'll be happy to answer it. Okay, so we download Blender. Let me just open it up. Here we go. This is Blender. This is what you will see when you first open it. Oh, actually, what you will see when you open it is this, actually. So this interface here is kind of like your starting homepage, right? And this splash screen is also pretty useful because it lets you go into a kind of like a specific workflow that you want to focus on, right? For example, general, you have kind of like access to everything, just like the whole suite that Blender offers. You can also click directly on 2D animation if you want to do 2D animation. It's like if you click on any of these, it doesn't stop you from doing anything. It just kind of like puts you in a workspace that is aligned for that workflow. Because as I said, Blender has so many features, it can be a bit overwhelming. So if you are just starting out and you want to focus on just one part of Blender, these startup files are actually pretty useful. Then to the right here, we have all of our, like a selection of our last used files. So you can just quickly jump back into whatever you were working on. Then you can donate, you can look what's new, and you can open project files. Yeah, and then if you click on general, it will basically bring you to this view here, to this setup. All right, Keanu, yeah, ask me in Discord. I'm fine with that too. Okay, so let's start with UI. So Blender works in a subdivision panel-wise, in a subdivision panel system. That means all of these separate panels here, they are very interchangeable and movable. Like you can see, we can scale them all up however we want to. We can scale them up and down. And we can also change whatever these are. Like you can see on the top left on each of these panels, you have this button here, and this button basically switches what kind of panel that is. So instead of the outliner on the top right here, we could have a text editor and yeah, just like create a new text and write some stuff in here. So basically with this you can set up your user interface with whatever panels you need for your workflow. And how to change kind of like how many panels you have. You can do that with the corners. So for example, if I want my outliner to be the full height here, I can just go into the corner of the outliner until you see this cursor icon here, and then click and drag it down. And then you see like it creates a bunch of like different kind of like previews on what's happening. And this is like very context based on where your mouse cursor is. And it's kind of, I think it's kind of self-explanatory. For example, this line here, this, if you let go, it will split this view. So now we have two outliners. To put this back into one outliner, I would do the same. I like do this, but I drag it down into the other one, and then it will overtake that one. So I can do the same here. So now I have one big outliner, and I can also do that here to join the areas. And now I just have one big 3D viewport and one big outliner. And then, yeah, to create a new one, for example, I want to go back, right? So I split this up again and switch this to my properties. Was it right? Properties. Yes, this was properties. And then this I'm gonna put back to timeline, which is here. All right, now we're basically back to where we were. One more thing about the user interface. I told you earlier that you can directly get into specific workflows by clicking those like startup files in the beginning on the splash screen. But you actually still have that functionality in here. That is these tabs up here. So for example, if I want to model on this cube here, if I want to sculpt on it, I can just click on the sculpting tab, and it will change the whole user interface to make sculpting more easy. While we are in sculpting tab, I just want to give you one little tip that makes sculpting much easier. On the top right here, we have this DIN Topo button, And we want to click on that and click OK. So now it's enabled. And this basically gives us endless detail in our cube. So now we can sculpt whatever we like. We can select some of these brushes down here. And Blender will automatically add detail wherever it needs more detail for it to be able to sculpt. Also, this elastic snake hook tool is very fun. Just lets you pick and drag vertices. Yeah, pretty fun stuff. All right. Yeah, you have all kinds of buttons up here. You have one for animation. You have one for rendering. You have one for UV editing. But all of these are a little bit more advanced. So I'm just going to stick with the layout view for now. All right, Keanu's getting dinner. Nice, nice. Second, I just noticed I don't have my on-screen keyboard shortcuts, and I think I want those since it should be pretty useful for you guys to see my keyboard strokes. All right, do we have them now? Yeah, there we go. Now you see my keyboard inputs down here. Yo, Wrench is also here. What's up? What's up? Who's here from Meetup, by the way? Because I saw on Meetup like I think 40 people signed up for this class. I sadly started 2 hours later, but I'm still interested on who's actually showing up from that. All right. Okay, we got all the UI features now, so you kind of like know the basics on how to navigate the UI and what the panels are and what the tabs are. Let's get into some of the preferences, some of the settings you can set up in Blender, because there's actually some things you should definitely set up before doing anything. So to get into the settings, you go into Edit, Preferences, and then you have this little pop-up here where you have access to all your settings. And the first thing that you should definitely take a look at is your system settings. And you want to select your GPU, basically, because if you have up here in Cycles Render Device, if you have none selected, it will use your CPU for rendering. And CPUs are very slow for rendering. So if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, you should select optics and then just select the graphics card that you want to use. Like, I mean, usually people only have one graphics card. I personally have 2 graphics cards, so that's why I see 2 here. But you should only have one, and then just select your graphics card and you're ready to go. These other options here are for AMD graphics cards. And there's also one on Mac called Metal. That's for the Metal MacBook GPUs. Yo, Melissa is also here. What's up? What's up? Nice that you could still make it. Thank you. All right, yeah. So let's stick with that. One more thing that I would personally also always change is the undo steps, because I don't see any reason why you should only be able to undo 32 times. So let's just click and drag this all the way up to 256. Oh, Vivaldi's here. Hey, Calva, I've been waiting for your live stream for a while. I'm glad you made it despite of your illness. I'm from the meetup. I have some questions, but now I'm watching the live stream. All right, awesome. Thank you for coming. About questions in general, so how this is going to work, I'm going to teach you all the basics in the first hour, right? It's going to take us 1 hour to get through all the Blender basics. And after that, we're going to go more interactive, and I'll be able to show you whatever you're interested in. So in the first hour, let me just know in the comments whenever you didn't understand something I was showing you. And then in the second hour, just ask me. You can ask me anything about Blender, and I'll be happy to show you and explain to you anything else that you're interested in. Okay, so yeah, let's keep the undo steps as high as possible. Something that I want to show you right now also, while we are at like changing these sliders. In Blender, you can actually change these sliders in a few different ways. As you saw, I just like clicked and dragged, but you can also just click into it and just write your number that you like. And you can also click and drag downwards, and then you change multiple numbers at once. And like everything I'm showing you right now is works all over Blender. So like that's the cool thing about Blender. I think it has a lot of very cool workflow tips, workflow things that should just be part of every operating system, I think. So yeah, this is how you change multiple values at once. And then also, if you right-click while changing something, it will reset it. So instead of accepting your change, it will cancel your change. Okay, something else. One more thing I want to show you about changing numbers. You can actually type in calculations in this field. So I can just like divide this by 8 and I get the result, right? I can take this times 10 and I get the result. So yeah, just a few little tips so you can work even faster in Blender. Let me see, we got that. Okay, key map. Let's go next to key map here. In key map you have a lot of interesting settings for, I guess, how you interact with Blender. You can change some things that are personally better for you. One big thing, for example, is which button you select with which mouse button. Left-click select is the new standard. They changed it a few years ago. Before that, Blender used to be right-click select. And I still think right-click select makes more sense. Should I explain you why? I mean, left-click select is pretty self-explanatory. It works like almost how every other software works. You can just like left-click on an object and you have selected it. And then with right-click, you get a context menu. Usually. I don't get it right now. But usually you should get that. Okay, for whatever reason, I don't get the context menu right now. But anyways, I like right-click select more anyways, because just a little explanation why. If you have gizmos like this enabled, for example, and you have left-click select, you can't select other objects, right? So let me just quickly move this here. Okay, so for example, I have this light selected, but I want to select the cube behind it. Oh wait, it works. Okay, never mind. This is something new for me too. Okay, so I guess it's just up to personal preferences. Do you want to select things with left click or right click? Yeah, I wasted too much time on this already. So just choose your poison. Something else that I would recommend you to enable is these buttons here, these options. Tab for pie menu and drag, and extra shading pie menu items. And pie menus are basically, very cool new types of menus. They're not a list, but they are kind of like a circle. So for example, if I hold down tab and I get this pie menu, and this specific pie menu lets you switch between different modes. So I can quickly go into the edit mode of this object. I can quickly go back to the object mode. And the cool thing about pie menus is that once you start to remember in which direction what mode is, you can very quickly switch, right? So I can just like tap right to edit menu, tap left for object menu, tap up for paint. Was it? Vertex paint, yeah. Sculpt mode. So yeah, this basically helps you to train muscle memory on how where to put your mouse for different types of modes. So yeah, I would always use pie menus for most things. It's very useful. Let's see. Okay, next up are the navigation options. So for navigation, there's a very important setting for me, at least, that I always like to enable, because how Blender works on default is that if you use your middle mouse button to navigate, by the way, all the navigation is done with the middle mouse button. Let me just tell you the basic. Wait, where's my desktop keyboard stuff again? It's gone. Wait, let me check if I need to restart. Okay, here we go. Yeah, okay, I guess it doesn't show the mouse inputs. All right, I think it did in the past. Whatever, let's keep going. All right, so standard Blender rotates around the object, or not even an object, it just rotates around the center. So it's kind of hard to look around and move in the viewport, right? Like, for example, if I want to look at this camera more, it's kind of difficult to get there. With tab and middle mouse button, I can like move around like this, but then still like to really focus on the camera, it's very difficult to get there. So like I like to enable auto depth in here and zoom to mouse position. If you enable these two things, Blender changes a lot in the way you navigate, because now if I zoom in and out, it will zoom in and out where my mouse cursor is, and that already helps a lot to get where I want to be with my viewport. And then also middle mouse button orbits around where your mouse is. So yeah, this, I mean, I think you can quickly see, or like see pretty clearly how easy this makes it to move around in the 3D viewport. So yeah, these are two things that I would definitely enable if you're working more on a scene level, right? Like if you're building whole scenes and environments. If you are sculpting only one object, maybe the other way would be better, because it makes sure that you're always focused on just one object. But even then, I think this is more useful. All right, I think that's all for the key map for now. Yeah. Let's get into add-ons for a little moment, because add-ons are really what makes Blender extremely powerful, because Blender has such a big and active community of developers, and they create crazy add-ons all the time. So you definitely don't want to miss out on the add-on game Blender has. Blender actually comes with a bunch of add-ons already installed. You can enable them by just clicking these little checkboxes here. Oh shit, we have our first crash. On that topic, Blender usually doesn't crash often. Like in my experience, Blender is a very, very stable program. It's very stable usually. Like it only crashes very infrequently. Like I don't know why it crashed just now. Probably because the add-on I enabled was a bit buggy. But yeah, just as a general information. Let me load the factory settings here again for you guys. All right, let me open up the preferences again. Okay. I'm gonna enable everything real quick, and system, optics, save, load. I guess that's fine. Okay, add-ons. So I'm going to show you how to get external add-ons, and I'm going to show you one of the best add-ons that you can get, which is BlenderKit. I'm going to send you the link to BlenderKit here in the chat. It's actually with a referral link, so if you create an account with this link, I get a little bit of payment, which is pretty nice. But yeah, honestly, I've been using BlenderKit for, I don't know, like 8 years. It's amazing. It's an amazing tool. It basically lets you drag and drop assets directly in Blender into your scene, materials and environment maps, brushes, all kinds of things that are useful to create stuff. So yeah, let's download it. So just click on download BlenderKit. Click here to download it, and then it will download a zip file. Yeah, here we go. And the cool thing about Blender is you can install directly zip files. You don't need to unzip the zip files. So click on this little download down arrow here and click on install from disk, and then here it is, BlenderKit, and you just install from disk, and then it takes a little moment and it's installed. Look for it, BlenderKit. Here it is. It's already enabled, and you can also see it added this toolbar on the top here. So yeah, I think we're actually done with the settings. So let's just close the settings menu here and do the 3D navigation. Okay, cool. So yeah, this BlenderKit basically added this bar here, and you can switch from objects to materials to environments. Oh no, this is actually like whole scenes, like full-on scenes. This is environments, this is brushes. So yeah, let's stick with objects for now. And you can see that you have these amazing models directly, but they have a lock. And that's because half of the assets on BlenderKit are behind a paywall, and the other half are free. But there are still like so many awesome free objects that it's totally worth using it. If you only want to see the free ones, go into this filter setting here, and it's enable free first. Yeah, now you will see the free models first. Oh wow, and actually a bunch of these are mine. So these, uploaded a bunch of models, and apparently they just got approved. So yeah, these, you can see here my name, Calvin Serrano. Yeah, these models just got approved, and then you can just basically drag and drop them into your scene. It's downloading them, and then you have them in here. Amazing, right? Alright, let's close BlenderKit for a moment. I just realized I didn't enable my navigation stuff again. Here, depth and zoom to mouse position. Now it's easier. Okay, so next up, I already told you about the middle mouse button navigation, right? So middle mouse button is rotating around something. The mouse wheel is zooming in and out. Shift and middle mouse button is panning like this, kind of like grabbing and moving a piece of paper. Was there something else? I guess those are the main navigation methods. Yeah, I mean, there's one secret navigation method that's actually the most useful and the most, the coolest one, which is, before we, no, I'm going to show you right now. So here in View, in Navigation, and then Walk Navigation. If you click on this, you get basically an FPS game. So with WASD, you move around, and your mouse is just like looking around. Then with spacebar, you can actually jump to where you're looking at. Right? Like right now, I'm just have this one thing, so I can just teleport there. So I'm jumping there. And there's one more thing that is pretty crazy. Oh, thanks for there was some kind of like subscription or follow just now. Oh, thank you. I missed who it was, but thank you very much. Yeah, one more cool thing is if you press tab, you enable gravity, and then it basically becomes full-on game where you can jump with V. Yeah, so pretty cool. You can just walk around and then fall through the floor because there's no floor. All right, there we go. Oh yeah, with E and Q, you can move up and down. So yeah, this is a very cool navigation method. This is actually the method I usually always use to position my camera. So yeah, to get into that maybe also makes sense. To look through your camera, you can click this camera button on the right here. And now you are in camera view. And you will notice if you want to use your navigation methods, it doesn't work. Like as soon as you hit middle mouse button, it brings you out of the camera. So how do you actually position the camera? Well, you could just do it from the 3D viewport, right? So you can enable the transform gizmo here, and then move your camera where you want it to have it, and use the axis to rotate it, and then check if it's correct. But as you can see, this is not a very useful way to position your camera. So I would always go into the camera view, and then in View, Navigation. Actually, before we click Walk Navigation directly, let me just show you that you can add shortcuts to anything. Because right now, Walk Navigation doesn't have a shortcut. Otherwise, it would be here on the right, where you can see the shortcut for it. So let's just right-click on it and assign shortcut. And I'm going to click Shift-F. And now you can see we added the shortcut Shift-F. So at any point now, I can press Shift-F, and I am in my Walk Navigation. So yeah, this is the best way to position your camera, in my opinion. Let me actually place my friend Daniel here on this ledge, so it looks more realistic. There we go. There we go. All right, he's just chilling. So cool. All right, next up I have Quad View. Quad View is sometimes pretty useful for looking at your scene from all different directions at the same time. Just press Ctrl-Alt-Q and you get your viewport or your 3D scene from all perspectives, plus one normal perspective. And here also again with Shift and middle mouse button you can move around. You can use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. Yeah, it's just a little useful viewport sometimes. disabled again with Control-Alt-Q. Vistris asks how I'm doing. Hey Vistris, thanks for joining the live stream again. Yeah, I'm getting better, man. I'm getting better. I just wanted to do this beginner course since a bunch of people signed up for it on meetup.com. So yeah, I'm doing it for them. I'm doing it for you guys. I think the next stream I'll do is on Friday, the interview. I also don't want to miss that, but unless, yeah, I think otherwise I'll just start with the daily live streams next week again. I should be fit by then. Okay. We got the quad view. Oh, full screen. All right, let me show you how you can full screen anything. So for example, right now this 3D viewport is pretty big, but imagine I have like my other things bigger like this, and I want to have a bigger view of my 3D viewport. You can just press Control Space, and your whole Blender becomes that panel. It's basically whatever your mouse cursor hovers over will become full screen. So you can full screen anything, and it's just really useful if you need space to do something in a panel. Yeah, just quick tip. Camera, we got the gizmo. Yeah, just like as an alternative navigation method, you can also use these buttons up here. So you can use this gizmo up here to rotate. You can click on the axes to like snap into those perspectives and rotate out of it again. With the mouse, you can zoom in and out. The hand grabs, and then camera we already have. And this button here switches from perspective to orthographic. Orthographic is sometimes useful because it doesn't have any depth, right? Like it's a bit hard to explain, but yeah, there's no perspective. It's all just like a flat look. Sometimes it's useful, but I usually don't use it much. All right, object viewport manipulation. Let's do that. Let's get into that. So if I select my Daniel here again, sitting man in a black leather jacket. Wait a second. My keyboard shortcuts are kind of messed up right now, and I'm not sure why. Key map. Factory presets, yes. Okay, now it works. Okay, something was messed up. I don't know why, but yeah. Zach, what's up? You're also here. Sigford keeps grinding. Thank you, man. Okay, let's talk a little bit about manipulating objects in the 3D viewport. As you can already see, like I used this transform tool here, where you get all these this gizmo with like moving objects and rotating objects and scaling objects. Very nice. But I would actually recommend you use the keyboard shortcuts, which are R for rotate, G for grab, and S for scale. And any of these tools, or like any of these changes, you can also lock onto axes. I use this all the time. I think it's very useful. So for example, I want to move this this guy on this axis, right? Like I just want to change the position on this corner. Of course, you can use this button here, but you can also press GX to first G to move it, and then X to lock it on the X-axis, and then it's moving. So yeah, if we don't have this tool, we can still do it. So that's very important to know. It also works with rotation, right? So I can move him over here, and then like on this corner, and then RZ, I can rotate him on the Z-axis. One more thing about this, which like to lock onto axis is also really cool. You can, for example, if I press G, you can hold down middle mouse button, and we'll try to like in a smart way try to lock it onto one of the axes. So if it found the right axis, I can let go middle mouse button, and it selected that axis. So yeah, that's also a very cool way to do to lock it. Whoop! Oh, this one's a bit complicated. Ah, yeah, here we go. Gizmo. I think this is the most important thing for moving objects. Maybe one more thing that is very cool that I use all the time. If you grab something and hold down Control, right now it's like snapping to basically full numbers. It's like always snapping 1 meter to the left, 1 meter to the right. And you can change that behavior in this drop down here. Right now it's in increments, but I actually like using face all the time. And then I also usually select active. And then if you use Control, it snaps to the surfaces. So this is very useful for placing objects in a 3D scene. Yeah, another little tip. Okay, how to add objects. I've shown you BlenderKit, how to add objects through that, but there's also a bunch of primitive objects and yeah, basic objects that you need all the time. And for that, you usually use Shift-A to get this add menu, and then you have your meshes, which are like cubes and spheres and monkey for some reason. And you have your lights, and you have your camera. You have also a speaker, which is pretty interesting. I've never used it, but I guess it's very useful for placing sounds in a 3D space. But yeah, it's definitely underutilized so far. You can add a 3D text. Let's do that right now. Just like on this surface here, and then rotate it by 90 degrees. Text. All right, I'm just going to place it on the surface here. I want to show you a few things about this properties panel here, because the properties panel basically gives you access to all the settings you have about everything in Blender. And you can see when I select this text here, we have this little text data part. We have a different thing when we select an object like this. We have this, I guess, like mesh data. But if we select the text, we have this text data. And in geometry, you can extrude this text, which will help me to like make it be visible, even if it's on the surface of this cube. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And let's go into edit mode with tab here. Just name it thanks for watching. There you go. Thanks for watching. Okay, and we can also add materials here. So in this material viewport, or this material tab here, we can click on new, and then this text will get a new material. For some reason, it takes a moment to load a new material, which is pretty uncommon. This is usually not what happens. I feel like my computer is a bit sick too right now. Okay, here we go. So it got a new material. And we have a bunch of like basic settings here, how metallic it is, how rough it is, what color it has. But you can see that you can't see any change in the viewport. And that is because we are in the in the solid view, which is up here, viewport shading, solid. If you want to see materials and colors, you have to click on the next one, which is the material view, and then it will actually load all the textures and all the material settings. Wait, my settings. Oh yeah, I reset my settings again, right? Let me enable them again. Okay, navigation. All right, here we go. Yeah, look how good Daniel looks. 3D scan of Daniel here. Very nice. Yes. So yeah, you can basically change how this material looks with these settings. So now it's like very glossy, very metallic, also pretty cool. All right. Next up is lights. So let's add a light here. You saw that I just changed this 3D cursor, right? Like this little weird thing is the 3D cursor in Blender. And you can position it with left click if you have right click to select enabled. If you don't have right click to select, you have to enable the cursor tool here, and then you can change the cursor. But for me, since I have right-click select, which is the superior way, you can just change the cursor with left-click. And the cool thing about the cursor is, wherever the cursor is, you can do a bunch of different things with the cursor, but one of the main things is that new objects will get spawned at the cursor. So if I go now into the Shift-A Add menu, and I add a light, an area light, it will be added there. And you can see that we don't have the light interacting with the scene. And that's actually something you need to enable here in the drop-down menu. Just select Scene Lights and Scene World, and then you basically have a representation of your final look, like with your final lights and your final environment map and everything. Let's make this a little bit brighter. There we go. Let's actually put it in the front here. Also, some lights have this little point here. If you click and drag on that, the light will look at, or will point at wherever you let go. So yeah, also very useful. Properties. Okay, I showed you some property settings here already. One more thing, or like another thing that's really useful is the modifiers. So if I click on modifiers and then add modifier, you can add a bunch of different modifiers to your objects, and they all do different things. One very useful one is, for example, the array modifier. So if I add this, you can select how often this object gets repeated. So yeah, I can have like a bunch of these in a row. I can change the distance between them. So yeah, very useful stuff. Very cool stuff. Also, another cool modifier is the bevel modifier. If we just click on search, we can just type it in, bevel. There we go. And that will bevel our corners. So yeah, very nice. Very, makes it a soft cube like this. You might also notice that we have these like sharp edges now. And if you want to have a soft cube, you have to go into the right-click menu. For me, it's W, and select Shade Smooth. And then your cube will be smoothened out. Okay, what else? Properties. Any other important properties? The other ones are pretty advanced. Yeah, I would say let's start wrapping the basics up by showing you how to render an image, or even an animation. By the way, I should show you a little bit about the animation, just the basics at least. Okay, I'm gonna show you how to like very quickly animate something. The easiest way to animate something is just to enable the auto keying button here. And as long as this is activated, whenever you change something about an object, it will add a keyframe down here in the timeline. You see, like it added one here. So now if I go to a different time and space, time and space, I don't know, does it make sense? And I move this object now, it will add another keyframe. And it will also animate between these two keyframes automatically in a smooth way. So yeah, that's the simplest way how you animate. You can also rotate. Let's do like a 360 here. Oh, I didn't do it. Maybe I need to rotate them here also. Oh, I guess it looks for the shortest path. Let's do this, I guess. I don't know, I'm just animating bullshit here. It's not really it's not really anything. Alright, here we go. Yeah, and just like as a little bit more information about keyframing, the animation that got added right now is actually part of the object information. So you can see whatever information is green has an animation on it, and when it is yellow, it's on a current keyframe. So if we delete all these keyframes here, and we don't have the automatic keyframing option, we can still add keyframes fully manually. So I'm going to position them here, and then these location settings, so I'm going to add keyframes with these buttons, go to a different time, new position, and then you can see this information has been changed, but it doesn't have a keyframe yet. So I'm going to add a keyframe, and then it will animate between these two values. Yes. All right, let's just render an image now. All right, so let's go into our camera view and use our, oh shit, my keyboard shortcut has been removed. Navigation, walk navigation, assign shortcut. Oops, I didn't do it. Navigation, walk navigation, remove shortcut, assign shortcut, Shift F. There we go. All right, so I'm just gonna, I guess I'm gonna go down here. Thanks for watching, why not? All right, cool. And now let's render it. If you go into the render settings, one of the main decisions you have to do is if you want to use Eevee or cycles. Eevee is the real-time viewport renderer, which actually got used for the movie Flow. So just because it's real-time and viewport doesn't mean it's not useful for final images. Yeah, it's still very useful for making your final renders. But usually if you want to go for photorealism, you should switch this to cycles. And then also in device, you want to use your GPU if you have a GPU. Oh, that reminds me, I also didn't switch that in my settings yet. Okay, here we go, GPU. Okay, yeah, use your GPU if you have one. And then we can basically render it. There's some settings here in the, there's a lot of settings here that you can change to improve the speed of your render. One big part I would change, for example, is this max samples here in render. You have one in viewport and one in render. And viewport is basically what you see, like how much samples it uses if you have the render viewport on. So if we switch to the last tab here, now we basically have cycles in our viewport, which is also pretty cool. Like you can see it's also almost real time. So if you're using path tracing cycles or Eevee, they are getting closer and closer to each other to almost becoming the same thing, which is pretty crazy. Yes, so it's using this amount of samples in the viewport and then this amount of samples on the render. But I personally think these samples are way too overblown. They can be way lower. So for the viewport, I usually have it just at 400. And for render, I just have it at 800. Yes, and then we have denoising automatically enabled for our render, which is pretty cool. So when it's finished rendering, it will automatically denoise it, so it looks nice and clean. We have light paths, which is how often a light ray bounces, but I think all of this stuff is too advanced right now. Let's just get into rendering. Something else that I would enable is motion blur, because if you have movement, motion blur makes it look much nicer. So yeah, make sure that you enable motion blur. And also if you want to have your background transparent, for example, if you're rendering just one object and you want to put it later on in front of a graphic or something, you have to enable transparent here. And then you can see we get our checkerboard background here. I think that is the most important thing for now. Most important stuff for now. And now we can press F12 and it will render that one picture. So here we go. It gets cleaner and cleaner over time, where now we can almost see no noise at all. And then in the last step, it will denoise it even still. Yeah, now it basically is perfect. We have no noise and the image is crisp and clean and it only rendered for 14 seconds. And you can get this even lower, way lower if you know what you're doing. Okay, so we got this image, but it didn't save it yet. So to save this image, we need to either go up here to image and save, or just press Alt-S and then select where we want to save it. Tutorial. We can change our codec, our picture format and the settings for it here. Save as image, and then we have saved it. That's it. So yeah. Now I would like to get into the interactive part. I would like for you guys to tell me what you want to learn more about. Because we basically did the basics now. something I'm going to explain while you maybe type down your questions is how to export animation, because you can probably imagine like saving each frame individually like this is going to be a lot of work. So let's go into output here. You can actually also change your resolution of your image. Your animation is actually getting rendered to this path here. So you wanna select here this folder icon and then select a folder where you want to export to. I'm just gonna create a new folder here, test, and then accept, and it will put it in there. So now if we go and render, we can render an image or render an animation. If we click render animation, it will then render each frame after each other from this timeline. It will save all those frames automatically in the folder that we just selected. Breeding Unicorns wants to know about sculpting. All right, let's get a little bit more into that in a moment. Okay, so yeah, that's basically it. That's how you render an animation. All right, I'm gonna cancel this with escape. Okay, let's get into sculpting. Actually, for that, I'm gonna create a whole new file here. First of all, I am going to close this. Don't save, because I want my startup file back in my settings. There we go. Oh, by the way, this startup file that I have here that automatically starts when I open Blender is something that I created, and it has all the basically settings that I usually change for it to like render faster and look better, and have some like organization already from the beginning and a reference mesh. If you want to get this startup file, I'm gonna actually just send you the link to it right now. 1 second. Resources. It's actually here on the Discord server in resources. Let me see. Here we go. Blender startup file. Wait, where is it? I wanted to. Oh yeah. Copy link. All right. Here you go. So yeah, if you want to get my Blender startup file with a bunch of like speed ups and stuff, just click on that, and you're ready to go. All right, sculpting. Let me open up the splash screen again here, splash screen, and just click on sculpting when Blender starts, and then it will give you this nice little sphere and all these brushes, and you can basically start sculpting now. But we still have the same problem where there's not infinite detail, right? Like when we start pushing things out, moving things out, it becomes blocky. So to combat that, again, we need to enable dynamic topology, and then it will always add new data. If you want a higher resolution for this, you can also drop this down and lower the pixel value here. For example, right now it's 12 pixels, but you can lower this down to, I don't know, like 4 pixels, and now it will add much more detail, where you can see it looks much smoother now. I think there's also a way to smoothen this. This? No. Okay, another useful shortcut for the brushes is with F, you can change the size of your brush. So you can move things in a much bigger way. Like this, for example. Oh, let me actually increase this a little bit. It's a bit slow. 8 pixels. Yeah, that's a bit faster. And with Shift F, you can change the intensity. So if I have this ball here, it blows up, and I can lower the intensity or increase it. Wait, actually? Oh, it is just 50 right now. Let's just do it 100. Yeah, now it blows up really fast. Oh, almost too fast. Kind of breaks. Oh, this might be a good example for smoothing. So if you have something that looks kind of like broken, you can smoothen it out very quickly by just holding down Shift and then drawing. And then it will smoothen everything out. So yeah, that's a very easy way to like just go crazy with your sculpt. Not worry about breaking anything at first. And then when something breaks, when you see something looks pretty strange, you can just shift and smoothen it out a little bit. There we go. Okay. Sculpting. Is there more to sculpting? Oh, actually, there's a lot of more brushes down here if we extend this. There's so many brushes. Grab cloth. Oh. this one's a bit slow. Just slowed down my whole PC. Bend, twist cloth. That's interesting. This one is a bit slow. It doesn't really work in real time for me. But yeah, you can definitely experiment with all these different tools here. All of them do very different things. Boundary. I don't even know what that does. Scrape fill. Interesting. Oh, okay. Yeah, but all these brushes basically help you to get the look that you're going for with your sculpt. Oh, this gives you like a cool preview. Fill, deepen. Okay. Yeah, they're all very, very unique. Inflate. Here we go. Nice. It's pretty fun to sculpt, honestly. It's so smooth and fast. But it does take a lot of time until an object looks nice, definitely. Okay, Melissa, let me know if you have more questions about sculpting or if this is a good starting point for you, because it's really a lot about experimenting and just testing out the brushes and kind of just like, yeah, sculpting on an object and like improving it every detail until it looks right. I don't think there's like too many like ultimate tips that will help you to be good, except for a reference. Just look at reference and show, try to work from reference. How to add and fuse two objects? Okay, yeah, that's a cool question. Vivaldi, I'll get to your question after this one. How to add and fuse two objects. So in sculpt mode, I think you can not add multiple objects, but if you are, let me just like go open up a new layout view here. So we have our sculpt here. And by the way, we can make this also look smooth with the right click menu here. Why doesn't it work for me? Okay, so my keyboard shortcut doesn't work right now, but I know it exists, and that's what the F3 menu is for. So if I press F3, I can just search for whatever I want to do. So smooth, shade smooth, and then our object is smooth. Actually, none of my shortcuts work right now. I don't know why. Okay, let me just do it through the menus then. So if you want to merge multiple objects, for example, I have this cube and I have that sculpt, right? And I'm guessing you want to merge them to sculpt with them, right? To like fuse them. The easiest way is to join them as one object, but then they don't really... I'll show you. So if I select these two objects with shift, right? Like I select one and then with shift I select the other one. And then an object, I can look for join. Here it is, join. And now these are one object. If I go back to sculpting now, I can actually sculpt on both. Oh, I need to enable Din Topo again. I can sculpt on both objects, but something you notice is that they don't blend into each other, and that's because they are not actually connected. They're intersecting, but they are not actually one object. Like you can kind of make it look good, but there's always this seam in between. I guess it kind of works, but yeah, it's not ideal. A more advanced way to do this would be We go back to layout here. Oh yeah, I need to undo until they are two separate objects again. Here we go, two separate objects. So what you want to use instead is the Boolean modifier. So let's go to, was it here, generate Boolean, yeah, Boolean modifier. And then you have these, different modes here. For us, we want to use union because we want to make them both one object, right? So I select union and then drag and drop, drop this icon onto the cube. And then we have it as one object. So we want to apply this Boolean here with Control A. Now it's one object, and we still have the original cube right here. We can delete that. Oh man, why are none of my keyboard shortcuts working? This is so confusing. Right. Keyboard? No. Key map. Let me just load factory resets again. Okay, now it works. I'm not super sure what's happening. Okay, now we got this selected. If we go now to sculpting and we sculpt, now it is kind of like behaving as one object, as you can see now. So yeah, now these two objects are perfectly merging into each other. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. All right, Melissa, I hope that answered your question. Okay, Vivaldi, let's get to your question here. Thank you so much. Is it possible to make a short animation alone, or I need a team? I wrote a story and I am learning Blender, but I don't know how much it's feasible. I mean, I've seen a lot of people who do it. Like, it is definitely doable to do a whole short film by yourself. I would say be ready for a lot of time. Like, I think still it's gonna take a lot of time, but if you're just learning Blender, try to look what you need to create that short film, and try to settle on the art style and a direction that is minimalistic, because you don't want to create full-on human characters and full-on human animations when you just start out learning Blender. So instead, maybe try to animate something with objects, like tell a story with toys or just simple objects, and have them move and interact. Yeah. Start small for sure, otherwise it could become a frustrating project. Also, other question is that how can I develop my skills in Blender? Now I just watch YouTube videos and tutorials. I saw you offer mentorship. What are the circumstances? Oh, okay, cool question. Yeah, I do, like with this online school here, I do, like, it's mentorship based basically. So I teach my students whatever they need to learn in the daily live streams and the daily classes. And that basically works by them sending in their projects or their questions, and then me working with them on their projects and answering their questions in those daily live streams. I've gotten a lot of good feedback from that. Like, people like especially Zach, who's here in the live stream. He's having a good time with it, I think. I think I was able to help him a lot and made his learning process speed up much more. Let me actually just send you the website here so you can check out a little bit more information about how I'm doing it. But yeah, I think in general, I mean, that's why I'm doing this mentorship-based teaching approach, because to me, when I was learning things, having a mentor or someone that I could look up to and that I could learn things from, definitely helped me to learn things much quicker. So I think it's the best way to approach learning, to find someone that does what you would like to do and then learn from that person. Otherwise, I did see people also getting like courses and then learning, like going through whole courses and learning that way. That also works pretty well, but it's very lonely. It's like just you and the instructor. And I think working in a community is also very motivating, which is also what I'm offering, right? Which is like the Discord community with like a lot of people just being on there and helping each other out, answering questions and stuff. So yeah, that's, I think, number one is having a mentor. Number two is having a community. Number three is good learning material. Yes, I think those are the main pillars, I would say. Yeah, that's what I would say about that topic. That was your question. All right, I hope that answered your question. Zach, do you have a question here? Let me see. He said it's gonna take months for a 3D animated short film. Yeah, I mean, for sure, like a few months for sure. If it's your first project, maybe even a year. Like if you're learning all the things in a new way, and then you have maybe a 3 or 4 minute short film script, it might take up to a year, depending on the art style you're going with. Like if you do something pretty minimalistic just to get started, you could totally do a 3D animated short film in 2 months, I would say. But yeah, it's got to be like minimalistic to begin with. And you'll want to give up at points. It takes so much determination. Zach says, having a mentor is nice to bridge the gap of experience. YouTube tutorials only go so far. Yes, because like everyone has individual problems, and it's kind of like difficult to always find exactly the solutions that fit into your workflow online when looking at tutorials. You got legends like Vstress to see your stuff. Hell yeah. Yeah, Vstress is shaping up to be an amazing 3D artist. Just cheerleading over here. Nice. Thanks, Zach. Okay. Yeah, I think that is that. Alright, guys and girls. Those are the basics of Blender. I am getting a bit exhausted. I'm not at my full power level yet. Oh, Breeding Unicorns has to leave. Okay. Have a great day. Thanks for coming by, Melissa. Keanu's back also. But yeah, guys, I think if thank you, Melissa. If no one has any more questions, I would head out again. Oh, but let's see. Vivaldi, is it good that I start creating my animation using your mentorship? Yes, I know it takes approximately a year. Yeah, I mean, I would honestly love helping you with your animation. Like, I really like making short films myself. So I think I could help you in a lot of ways making a 3D short film. Also with like story development and visual storytelling and stuff like that. Actually, especially visual storytelling is one of my strong suits, I would say. Yeah, I would love that. Like, if you want to try it out, I have the 7-day trial of the student membership on Patreon. Maybe, yeah, give that a shot next week. I think next week is... Yeah, I'm going to be here all of next week. I should be completely up to health, fully recharged and ready to help you guys. So yeah, maybe try it out next week, and then you can see if you want to continue it or not. Dark Zetel says thank you very much. Thank you for watching. All right, everyone. I feel like that would be it then for today. Oh, you live in Dresden. Nice. Awesome. Another fellow German here. I don't think I've ever been to Dresden though. I live in Berlin. I think I've been in Dresden, but like not properly, not on a vacation or anything like that yet. Keanu also says getting a mentor is definitely the way to go. The tutorial loop is a terrible place to be in. Terrible. Deutschland. All right, everyone. I wish I could hang out more, but I feel my energy getting low. I should recover so I can be with you properly again next week. And this Friday for the interview with Aram. Okay, yeah, I would say let's close it off for today. Yeah, very grateful for everyone here being part of the community and being in the live streams and being so supportive. So yeah, thank you very much, everyone. I'll be heading out now with a little surprise, as always. Oh, no.